What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Happier, Healthier Arkansas podcast. Look, it's been a long time. There's been a lot of different stuff in the making, a lot of different transitions happening within the clinic, within our personal lives as well. But we are back with this incredible podcast because we understand that there are actually people out there who genuinely understand and want to make Arkansas the happiest, healthiest state in existence. One of the changes that has been happening is, as you can see here, we don't have Dr. Chris here anymore. Dr. Chris is back in California. He missed his family. He's over there. He's starting a great practice. But I was able to talk with Grant, and as busy as he is, he was like, he would love to do the podcast with me. So I want to introduce not only just one of my closest friends in the entire world, but also one of the people that has truly helped me on the path to understanding patient care, to understanding different conditions, and who's taught me a lot of what I know. The one and only Dr. Grant Dennis is now my co-host. What's going on, Dr. Grant?
Glad to be here. I just want to say, first and foremost, everybody be praying for Chris. Right. He moved back out to a very different part of the world than Arkansas. Poor guy moved from California to Arkansas, back to California. And no, in all seriousness, he was super fun to work with, super fun to have. He was great in our culture. We miss him. And so when, you came to me and were like, hey, let's bring this back out. Let's bring this back to the people because the people need this. And I agree. It was a no-brainer. But in all seriousness, keep Chris in your thoughts. My man's over there trying to open a practice. Having gone through that myself, you've gone through that, like the startup phase it's brutal. I mean, and we're in the adaptability game here in chiropractic. The name of the game is adaptability. So we're just going to adapt. We're going to overcome. The good news is, I think we got some funny stuff to talk about, some enlightening things. It's going to be a good time. So you guys hang tight, buckle up. Should be good. And I've got a new space here. Looks good. This is awesome. Kelly with Dream and Stream. Shout out, man. Like if you guys are looking for a studio, it's where you need to be. But yeah, super excited, man. What are we talking about today?
One of the things about the culture that we have within the clinic, it's pretty fascinating because if you look at all of our social media, you look at our YouTube, you look at our website, there's barely any content of you and I together. So this is like one of the
people ask all the time. They're like, "Do you still practice?"
Right.
What are you talking about? Like, I see Dr. Cam all over the place, like Guillermo's, for example. When I walk into Guillermo's, I immediately see Dr. Cam's face, and they're like, "I got confused. Did he own Guillermo's, or is he a chiropractor? The specific, like, are you still at the specific?" And it's because I practice in the Hot Springs location too now. So people are always like, "Hey, are you still there?" Like, yes, I'm still in Little Rock, seeing people.
I can assure you, Dr. Grant is still in practice. I can assure you, I see him every single week, on Monday and Wednesday, sometimes more throughout the week. He's still in practice, full-time practice. We take care of very similar things. He didn't just bring me on and disappear. He is in full-blown practice with me. And one of those things, honestly, brother, that we take care of, we're talking about Dr. Chris and the kind of like the love and compassion that he brought into the culture of the clinic. But being in full-time clinical practice, we have incredible stories of patients that we take care of. People that come in like hurt, broken. They genuinely feel like it's their last stop shop for anything related to their health concerns, more specifically for chronic conditions. So not only are we just going to be bringing you on this podcast, incredible, funny content, stuff that we were able to do to help amplify and make Arkansas happier and healthier, but also stuff that we see within the clinic and practical advice that we give our patients that we can give to them as well.
And then current events, like one of the things I just saw yesterday, right? There's like this, I think it was yesterday. No, it was Monday. It was a big scare on the University of Arkansas campus. Like there was a suspected shooter and like it hit the airwaves, it hit the Twitter waves. It got me thinking, I don't think most people realize how big of an epidemic mental health is in our society right now. And I think that's what blends the road for this idea of, why are these things happening more often? And obviously they're very scary. People are like, hey, like, is my son or daughter okay on campus? And it goes across the Twitter waves. Thank goodness it ended up not being a shooter. It ended up not being casualties. Nobody died. Praise the Lord. But it got me thinking, most people, first off, don't realize how big of a mental health crisis there is in America right now. Right. Mental health is on a skyrocket as far as just cases, people being managed for that. Then it also got me thinking on a deeper level that people don't actually also know that the founder of chiropractic, BJ Palmer, had a sanitarium where he saw mental health patients.
Exclusively.
Yeah.
In the sanitarium.
Yeah. And so he got referrals from psychologists who would send him. It was in Davenport, Iowa. It was called the BJ Palmer Sanitarium. psychologists, because back then, look, meds weren't as prevalent as they are now for mental health conditions. There wasn't Zoloft, Prozac, all these, benzodiazepines and all these types of things that people, now take for that. They weren't as prevalent. So these doctors didn't know what to do. So they would send them to BJ Palmer, who ironically enough did upper cervical specific care. That's why it's called the Specific Chiropractic Center, is because we do upper cervical specific, meaning we specialize in the upper two bones of the neck. And what most people think is, well, what the heck does that have to do with mental health? Right. And how the heck was he seeing results with this? Because he was seeing amazing results. It's well documented with schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, dyslexia, bipolar disorder, PTSD, the list goes on of these mental health conditions. And, I don't think people know that. I think it's something we could chat about. Like, I don't think people actually even understand that was a thing. Look it up on Google, BJ Palmer Sanitarium, for those of you who didn't know that. BJ Palmer was seeing incredible things using the type of care that we do exclusively in our office, which is why you were talking about conditions, we see amazing things with depression, anxiety, and the list goes on.
I'm starting to see a lot of that too now, right? A lot of mental health stigmas being crushed, because it was like a big thing where like you didn't really talk about mental health, kind of like this taboo topic, and then now all of a sudden there's like too many things to do for your mental health. So there's like a golden middle, right, between things to do, active things to do, too much things to do too much things to do, too little things to do. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people are focused? You can almost be too focused on mental health as well, and the opposite.
Well, it's the elephant in the room. I think that it's one of those topics when it gets brought up, no one's to talk about it. Because inherently what that would have to lead to is you either admitting that you have a mental health condition right. Or someone who does. And there's this stigma around that, right? Like, okay, now that means that I'm hanging out with crazy people, or I'm crazy. Or I think mental health and like the diagnosis of it, and then alongside the same line of being crazy, they kind of go one and the same, right? And so then it becomes a negative connotation. And also a statistic most people don't talk about is the leading cause of men under 50 is suicide. Yeah. Nobody talks about that. And it's why is that, right? And so, but it just got me thinking when I started to see, like, and it wasn't just at the U of A, it was across multiple different campuses. Like multiple campuses had these false alarms, false shooters. And, it's crazy because the number one thing that most people say when they, we have like an event like Sandy Hook, right? Or something like that is, how could somebody possibly do that? How could somebody actually go in and do something like that?
Right.
And it truly is that they are mentally ill. They're mentally unwell. They have a mental health condition that most oftentimes people will tell you they knew far ahead that they had before they actually did something. It's very rarely like, oh, I never saw it coming from so-and-so. Like, no, they were like, no, we knew something was wrong.
Something was off.
So in that case, my question for you then is there something that can be done in our world of upper cervical specific care to offset mental health and actually lower mental health conditions in society?
We see that, it's interesting you bring that up because it was like, and this was a long time ago. I wonder how it's progressing. But back when I was actually still like shadowing different upper cervical chiropractors, I came across a guy who was actually doing research on addiction and upper cervical chiropractic care.
Getting older.
Yes. Oh my goodness. In relation to the upper cervical adjustment and and addiction, and we also know that addiction can also be caused by mental health conditions as well. And like you said, the leading cause of death in men under 50 is suicide. We clearly see that we see it within the clinic.
Yeah,
dude, where it's like, well, male or female, who do we predominantly take care of?
Predominantly females. But that's just because men don't like to go to doctors.
Right. And when they do, they minimize their condition.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing they do with their mental health.
Right.
Yep. It's honestly something that we've had to learn together, being with each other now for a while, like, our relationship now in comparison to when I first met you, it'd be over 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Right.
Dude.
Well, women tend to, and it's not a knock, it is what it is, tend to maximize the condition, sometimes even make it a little bit overly which, look, it's not a knock, it's actually a good thing because it's the blessing we got them in our office to help them get the results they need, is they over dramatically sort of maximize the symptoms that are occurring, and it's because it's massively impacting their life. Men, on the opposite, do the opposite. I'm going to minimize it as minimalistic as possible to where it may be affecting my life maximally, but I'm going to pretend like it doesn't. To the point to where it literally gets to a point where I can't hide it anymore and I have to do something, and unfortunately then they want it fixed overnight.
Right.
Those guys.
Quick.
These are like, hey, what's the process? How long does it take? I get it. I don't know if it has to do with like they go through 9 months of pregnancy or like they like
It's the way God made us.
I just think that's the way that God made us. They are like, hey, I'm willing to stick this out. Guys, like, dude, what do I got? Like, how long is this going to take? Like a week? Okay, dude. Like, I don't know. You know, and so it just is what it is. We've learned this, but if that's you, it's okay because we have a place for you as well.
Right.
And, you know, we're going to, through reverse psychology, probably tell you, it's okay. I know you're not going to stick this out. And because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and recommend a 2-week course of care. I don't know what we're going to see, but we'll see. But then through that, you're going to, I can stick it out because that's what guys do. Yep. Competitively, right? I can stick it out.
I can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can. I'm going to remind you of that in 3 weeks. And be like, hey, it's better. I don't need to keep going.
Right.
Right. So, but dude, it was just something I felt like we could kick off with, just talk about, like, for most people that don't know, like, there is a connection between brainstem function and brain function. And so the brainstem, one of its main jobs is to alert the brain to consciousness. And the other major job that a function that it has is to modulate emotion. And so, you know, that's why, you know, for example, one of the leading causes of depression is alcoholism. The reason for that is because the alcohol depresses the vagus nerve, it depresses the brainstem, it depresses the frontal lobe, it affects the prefrontal cortex, it inherently affects mood. The prefrontal cortex is where mood is controlled. It's where mood, personality, who you are, that's all directed through the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex gets the majority of its information from the brainstem. Well, that's good for us because the atlas surrounds the brainstem.
Say, where does that brainstem sit in relation? Right next to the atlas.
So if they have a history of head trauma, which also most mental health patients do, you know, take CTE, for example. You know, it's just prevalent in the NFL right now, and really every sport, but it's becoming more prevalently talked about. Multiple head traumas leads to plaquing on the brain. I actually think it does have an effect on the brain, but I actually think it has a bigger issue through the brainstem modulation process of mood, personality, all these types of things, which is what we check people for. But B.J. Palmer was checking people for it in the 1930s.
Yeah.
And I don't think people know that. And so it's just an awareness piece. If you're one of those who looks like, you know, likes historical mental health, nerd, junkie type stuff, of course we do because it's our game. It's what we do. But it just is something that we're looking a little bit more into, trying to figure out how can we help more people with this, especially at younger ages, to help. Because listen, this is a trickle effect, you know, and small things are large. If we can make one adjustment to one person, they go out in the community and affect other people, that makes a large ripple. And if it can reduce even just minimalistically mental health in our society, I think it's something we should be looking at. And I think, you know, it's definitely something that we are. So, you know, it's just something that's interesting. Maybe viewers would find interesting.
Yeah. And we see it a lot too with children, and particularly children with ADHD. The reason why is not just the prefrontal cortex, but the way that brainstem, where it sits right behind in the middle of the C1, C2, the atlas and the axis. We also know that on the brainstems, the areas responsible for process information, sensory processing, which is also how we see a lot of OCD, a lot of other sensory processing disorders. And sometimes we're treating with all these different medications and all these different types of things to be able to help correct what the effect is, but not the cause. When there is friction, right, and there's the cicatrix and all these different types of theories of misalignments that we talk about, but when we have a problem inside of that brainstem, inside of the central nervous system, what's happening is the body is unable to process information effectively. And when that happens, we can start seeing sensory processing disorders because the main things responsible for coordinating those processes are being impacted. So yeah, that's another great point.
On top of the fact, a 7-year-old doesn't want to sit still in class. It's not built for that, he or she.
Oh, yeah.
We're not wired. The brain doesn't. We know that the frontal lobe doesn't fully functionally develop until the age of 18.
Yep.
So a 7-year-old is not designed to sit still in a chair. So combat that with the fact that potentially they came out with birth trauma and they have sensory overload disorder within the prefrontal cortex, which means the brain is seeking sensory information, which is why they're all over the place. Then you combat that on top of them putting in an environment that they're not conducive, which is to sit still for hours on end, and then berate them when they don't do that. It's sort of like, you know, caging a dog and then getting mad when they jump out the cage when you open the door and they go wild. But dude, you've been caging me up for 4 hours. I'm not built for this. And it's known if you want to get a dog sick, cage it.
Yep.
They get sick. They get depressed. They're not built for that. Either a 7 or 8-year-old. And so, you know, these are the types of things I think over the duration of our podcast and future episodes, I think we should just spread light on this, you know, shed light on it, bring awareness to it. But dude, for our viewers, what I really want to know though, I don't think a lot of people know who Dr. Cameron Daniels is. Right. Like, you know, who is Dr. Cameron Daniels at his core? I see him. I see his social media stuff. I see him out there on social channels. You know, just always got a big smile, radiant. You know, Tell someone, like, shed some light, brother. Like, and by the way, Happy Healthy Arkansas, masks off.
Yeah, we want. Thank you.
Masks off.
Thank you, because I forgot to say that. In this new, sorry, Chris. In this new season of Happy Healthy Arkansas, we want to make something very clear. Mask off. Now, what does mask off mean? What masks off mean?
He's like, oh no, COVID propaganda.
Oh, right. No.
Masks off.
No. But what we mean by masks off, Happy Healthy Arkansas, unveiling the mask, take the mask off. The reason why I stopped doing podcasts, the reason why I stopped, I was on Channel 7, and, Grant's still very active across multiple different platforms because it's Dr. Grant. But the thing is, I stopped doing it because I felt like the gap, Grant taught me this a long time ago, the gap between who it is that I was trying to be and who it is that I am was super wide. And I was trying to figure out how to be more authentic on camera, how to be more authentic within these podcasts, how to be more authentic on social media. And I felt like I was trying to portray something else for maybe a potential patient or, a potential distribution channel or whatever it is. Mask off. Mask off mean when we sit in this chair and when these cameras come on and when these microphones turn on and when we publish this out, there's going to be stuff that we say you enjoy. There's going to be stuff that we say that you may not like. You may not find my personality flattering, but you may love Dr. Grant. You may not find Dr. Grant's personality flattering, but you might like mine. Right. It's like, for me, we were talking about this on the way here, mask off. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, and you were alluding to it. It's exhausting in this age of social media we're in now, where everybody's successful, nobody loses, everybody's winning. It's basically the Sports Center top 10 of your life every day on social media. No one talks about the not top 10.
Right.
And we ain't talk about that.
And if they do look at the not top 10, they're just laughing at it.
Yeah, right, because they never had one. I've never made a mistake, never failed, never had adversity. My life's perfect. I wake up every day, and the coffee never spills. Yep. And my car starts every time. Never had a flat tire. Never had a pain. No need to go to a chiropractor. Never had pain in my life. Really? Interesting.
I'm good.
Yeah. I run into that sometimes. I've never had the need. I've literally never had pain in my life. Interesting. That wow. Never in your life.
Yep.
Never worked out.
Mask off. Let's just make it very clear right from the jump. I am 29 years old. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Megan. We have 2 girls, and I'm extremely tired. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and my wife's pregnant with her 3rd. We're very active, not just within our church, but also within the community, taking care of patients all day, hanging out with Grant, talking about ways to be able to grow and maximize our presence online. I'm over it. Mask off.
Mask off moment for Grant, 36, been doing this for going on 10 years now, freshly divorced, was married, no longer married. I went through a pretty, let's call it what it is, nasty divorce.
Right.
Just brutal. One of those things where, like, one of the hardest things to do, and the reason we say mask off is because one of the hardest things to do is when you take care of people and you're going through life events and you walk into the office, you try to act like what's happening outside the office isn't happening inside the office.
Right.
And I've been taking care of people long enough, they're like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm trying to put the mask on. I want to talk about it. I want to, go there. And then here's what I've learned is I've done it both 2 different ways. I've been through a lot of adversity over 10 years. All of us have, if we're honest with ourselves. And what's tough as healthcare providers is to walk into that room with someone who's suffered from a health condition and try to act like everything's okay.
Right.
And sometimes it's not. And so I think giving yourself permission, for me, what's been freeing is trusting people enough to be like, yeah, I'm not okay.
Right.
I'm not going to go into what's going on, but I am not okay today. That's probably why you're sensing a shift of energy. And that's okay. And sometimes it's very freeing is to just be vulnerable, right? And I think that's really what mask off really means is vulnerable. Like, Dr. Grant says it all put together. Wrong. Do I try to be helpful to my community and helpful to my patients and be use my God-given gifts to help make the world a better place and help people with a lot of things and have a vision of taking Arkansas from 49th out of 50 in healthcare to number 1? Yes. What I am very also passionate about is being my authentic self, whatever that means.
Right. Utilizing our authenticity, inspiration, and education to provide people their God-given ability to live beyond their expectations.
We could just end the podcast there.
See you guys next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I do think that in moving forward with the podcast, I think in order for people to truly get the value out of what we're trying to send to them, they need to know where we've come from. And that is, no agendas. Nobody's paying us to produce this podcast. Would like to, as much as I wish they were, we are not paid to advertise any pills, potions, lotions, quick fixes. We're just two men of God trying to make an impact on our communities who are trying to take care of people, use our God-given gifts. And, we do that. And that's what I think we're most proud of, to be honest with you. And in a mask off moment, I think that's what really, at the end of the day, there was a moment in practice for me, at least about 8 years in, where I realized I was grinding, working every day, working super hard, put my head down, climbing and clawing up this mountain, only to realize I got to the top of it and I was on the wrong mountain. And I don't think there's any worse feeling in the world. What I mean by that is a lot of us chase this thing called success, and we have this metric of it in our minds, and we think we know what it looks like, whether it be buying toys and grabbing, money, grabbing, a trip to Vegas whenever I want, or whatever that means for you. Okay, now I've reached success. And here's what I'm here to tell you is when you get to that point, then what you realize is you just move the goalpost. It's never good enough because enough is never enough. So it's okay. Well, once my business gets to, 50K, then I'll be happy. Once you get to 50K, you'll just move it to 75. And then once you get to 75, you'll move it to 100. And it's the same with people suffering from health conditions. Oh, if I can ever get over this health condition, then I will go and do this. Well, here's what I'm here to tell you. You will do that because we see it all the time. Well, when I get back, migraine free, then I'll get back to working out. You won't.
Right.
Because then what will happen is when you lose the migraine and you get better, you'll forget that was ever a goal. Unless you have a guide, which is what our job is, to remind you of what it is and why you made this commitment in the first place to get well holistically. Right. I think that's like the big misconception in holistic healthcare for people is you come and look for holistic health, not because you're not looking for something surgical or you're looking for something, mechanistic or out of the medical field. And by the way, we need good medical doctors. We're not anti-medical. Yeah. Everybody has their lane. Surgeries are necessary for some people. Emergency intervention is necessary for some people. The reason you looked for a holistic route oftentimes early on is because it was preventing you from doing something and you wanted to try to get back to doing what it was preventing you from doing with the least amount of invasive, means as possible. I've never met anybody who was like, yeah, I pulled my hamstring. I can't wait to go get surgery. No, you always move from least invasive to most invasive, and we're a very least invasive approach. But the reason that you were looking for a least invasive approach is because you were hoping that it might be something minimal, the root cause that I could remove to get back to doing what it is that I love doing. Because it always comes back to it's preventing you from doing something. Being a mom, getting a promotion, missed days of work, missed days of school, missing out on friends, activities. I can't fly out next weekend because I'm worried about getting a migraine, and now I missed out on my brother's wedding. Whatever it is, our job is to remind you of the end game always and keep that in the forefront so that when you need accountability and you need sort of some motivation to keep going, there's always a process. And, it's a chiropractic principle, actually, is principle number 6. Yep. There's no process that does not require time, no matter what it is. And so I just think that's an important disclaimer to understand when we say masks off, truly masks off when we enter the room, when you get on these podcasts. There's no smoke and mirrors. It is what it is.
Mask off moment. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or YouTube, put in the comment section right now. Just put a mask off moment. Tell us what you're feeling right now. Good, bad, uncomfortable regarding the podcast, whatever it is. Let's have a mask off moment.
Yeah. And also, while you're doing that, you can subscribe to our Spotify channel. You can like our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. All these podcasts will be on YouTube so you can see our smiling faces, as well as our audio content, which is amazing, by the way. But you can also see our video content, which is amazing equally as well on YouTube. And so, listen, the more people that we have on our YouTube channel, the more people we can influence, the bigger impact we can make. So we'd appreciate that. If you're one of our viewers and our fans and you like to see more of us, and you'd like other people to see more of us, subscribe to our YouTube channel or also subscribe to our Spotify channel. We would be much appreciated. Mask off moment.
Yes. And as this reintroductory podcast that we're distributing here, we want to also make it very clear we don't want this podcast to be a vehicle. If you want to work with us and you want to come into the clinic, by all means, don't hesitate. Give us a call. Don't keep suffering from the condition that you're suffering from, whether it be migraine, autoimmune condition, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety, depression. Don't put it off. Give us a call. Let's get it checked out. But this isn't the point of the podcast. The podcast is to be able to help influence and to help, if we can help one person, to listen to this podcast, if we can be that accountability partner from behind the mics, you've done our job.
Well, dude, look, I mean, having done this for quite some time now, sometimes people just want an answer. And if you're one of those out there, you just want an answer. Like, dude, I have this, chronic lower back condition, and it's just pain all the time. I wake up with it every day. I go to bed with it every day. It gets worse as the day goes on. I've done massage. I've done PT. Doesn't make PT and massage wrong. It just means it didn't, for whatever reason, fix your condition. And you're like, I just need an answer. I need another opinion. I need someone to play quarterback to get me to the right place. We also pride ourselves on that. Hey, where was my next move? What do I need to do from here? I have Crohn's disease, and I've tried every diet under the sun. I've tried every supplement, and nothing's working. What's my next option? Sometimes people just want a quarterback in their healthcare system to be like, in the world of WebMD, I got news, guys. It's not always right. And so, in fact, in the world of ChatGPT, AI, and this new wave of, what's quoted as misinformation, now what you're going to get is a lot of information from sources that pull from people who are paying for that information, to supply that source. And so don't be misled. If you feel like you're being misled, you just want an answer, someone you can trust. I really think at the purest essence of what we're trying to provide in this podcast is somebody that you can trust, get to know us, learn about us, figure out who we are at our core, again, with Masks Off, so that you can know somebody I can trust, somebody to get answers from, especially when it comes to healthcare stuff. But hey, it also could be like, hey, Razorbacks beating Alabama A&M this weekend.
All right.
Because I'm a huge Razorback fan. In fact, I'm probably the biggest.
This is true.
If you want to know about Arkansas baseball, come talk to me. I watch all the press conferences. I kind of have a crush on Dave Van Horn. I love Arkansas baseball. I was a baseball guy. I played baseball in college, played at Henderson State, Go Reddies, 4 years. And I love baseball. There was a moment, though, where a scout told me, he was like, Dennis, so here's the deal. If I drafted you based on your stats, I'd get a raise. But if I drafted you based on your height and weight, I get fired tomorrow. Basically, what he said was, you're too small to play anymore. And I was like, right, so I'm going to go be a chiropractor. But inside of that, also a huge Razorback fan. Did I say that I like Razorback baseball? I think I did. But also football. So basically my hierarchy goes like this. Arkansas baseball, football, and then basketball. But basketball is kind of edging actually up closer to football because Coach Cal.
I didn't realize that baseball was number one for you.
Absolutely.
Dude, I thought it was football.
Well, you would think that because, listen, it's easy to think that when they play one game a week.
Right.
But I'm on every midweek game. In baseball, they play Tuesday, Wednesdays, midweek games. I'm watching them. I'm that ESPN Plus guy. I'm on that ESPN Plus. And I got to listen to those horrible commentators commentate the game. The horrible camera angle. It's not always the greatest. But I'm there. I'm watching. I'm watching the press conference. And I know who the backups. Listen, it's kind of tough to talk about, actually. This year was tough. It was tough this year. It was very tough.
He's been telling me every single year, hey, if they make it to Omaha, to the last, if they make it to the final game, I'm going. Have them in.
Yeah, well, it's tough. Thanks for reminding me. The reason they didn't go is because our All-American first-round pick left fielder forgot how to catch a fly ball. That's tough. Charles Davalon was my guy. It's okay, though, because we make mistakes. So do we. But what I can't deal with is Vahiva Aloy had a tailor-made double play ball. Our Golden Spikes shortstop, and he flipped it to third.
You remember this?
What are we doing?
You remember this?
Of course I remember this. It was traumatic.
That's why.
It was traumatic. Vahiva, 10 out of 10 times when that ball comes to him, he's going to flip it to second, and they're going to throw it to first, and we beat LSU. Listen, this is tough, because if it would have been anybody but LSU, I'd be okay. But you did it against LSU. I just think what happens is, and this is a good learning moment, because what happens is the Razorbacks, we have no pro team, so they are the pro team, they are the college team. When they go to Omaha, it's like you can feel there's a 50-pound bag of turpus on their back. The pressure and the monkey is tall. We all know about the pop-up. We're not going to go there. 2017, it is what it is. No. The pressure on these guys, you could tell it's high. They're like, God, once I get up there, they are like, we are here, instead of playing to win, we're here to not lose. We have got to finish this thing for my man Dave. And that's when pressure sets in. And when pressure sets in and we make the moment a little too big, much like when you're trying to decide, hey, do I need to start with the specific or not? It's a pressure-filled situation. But you kind of make the situation too big. It clouts our ability to think. And then all of a sudden we decide, it's okay. I'm just going to not do that.
I'll just keep suffering.
And we've seen this, right? And they call and they ask us questions and they know they need to start. That's okay. And it takes time, 6 to 8 months, sometimes longer than that. And then they call back like, I should have started way back when. That's okay. Because pressure is going to allow you to not think clearly sometimes and make logical decisions. The Razorbacks are a great example of that, especially baseball.
And the Lions.
Well, I mean, I don't know what. Have the Lions ever been good?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yes, they've been good.
I'm 36. I don't remember the Lions have ever been good. When were they good?
I mean, a couple years ago.
Right.
They're good now with Dan Campbell.
I mean, yeah, Dan. Okay, Dan.
He's an old school coach, man.
I know. Yeah, I mean, but were they last year, did they go to the Super Bowl last year?
No.
I didn't think so. But they went pretty far.
No.
I drafted Jared Goff in my fantasy league this year. That's my guy.
Good tell you that.
He's great. He was the number one fantasy earning quarterback last year. No people don't know that. Jared Goff. You know, Jared Goff went to like some Division II. Like, he wasn't even like highly. I think he was drafted high, but he didn't graduate from like Stanford or anything.
He's legit, but I still miss Stafford.
Yeah, well, Stafford is like 97 years old and he's still playing quarterback.
Yeah, that's it. Because he's good.
I mean, I need him to be good because I got several Rams on my team this year. But outside of that, back to who is Cameron Daniels. At his core, what do you value the most?
It goes down to three things that I really have to base on a hierarchical level, right? Christ, family, chiropractic, and honestly, and there's different things that can try to infiltrate those three. But I've really, especially with not just with Megan and our marriage, but also with the kids, and we have another one on the way, and God willing, we may have more kids. It's one of those things that like it boils down to those three things. It's Christ, it's family, and it's chiropractic. And I've had multiple different instances that you're familiar with where things have tried to come in and infiltrate those. Like if it doesn't influence, my spiritual walk, I just shouldn't do it. If it doesn't influence my family, and family also means, I'm just talking immediate family, but friends too, right? So like us and, Chris when he was here, good buddies at church. And it's like, so if it doesn't influence Christ, I don't want it. If it doesn't influence my family, I don't want it. And if it doesn't help push chiropractic, more specifically, specific chiropractic care, then I don't want it. Not that the other stuff isn't valuable, but that's who I am at my core, is like, I need to focus on those three things: faith, family, and then function through specific chiropractic care.
I think too many people put their business, I've been guilty of this, at the sort of cornerstone of those top three things. So in other words, they would say, oh, so it's, family, chiropractic, and then everything else. There's this thing in chiropractic in our circle. Sometimes what we hear is chiropractic comes before things. In this case, it doesn't matter what your business is, no matter what business you're in. Why do you think it's important that your value system start with, in this case, Christ for you and your family, and then everything else? Why is that important?
Because it's all the concept of foundation, right? I mean, we see this throughout Scripture. Like, you don't want to build your house on sand; you want to build it on rock. And it's one of those things that I just saw. I've seen the other side, and it's like it starts with the foundation, okay? And that foundation, for me, is faith. Because if I can run everything through that lens, then I'm operating at capacity with the creator of the entire universe. And so that's where I like to start, is like to start with faith and then filter things out through there. And I want my faith, a living faith, right? Living and active. I want that to be able to bleed out into my family and bleed out into, chiropractic and my patients. So that's why it has to go in that order, because, and you've taught this, and so has Sean, but that business problems are just personal problems in disguise. And what I have realized, if there's something off spiritually, I mean, I can get sort of emotional thinking about it. When there's something off spiritually, that it impacts it's just reverse engineering it. If there's something off spiritually, it impacts my family. And then if it impacts my family, it's going to impact my patients in chiropractic. If there's something off within chiropractic, like patients, for example, I rarely notice, I really do. Like, if a patient's case requires more time, or like, oh man, I should have done this or I should have done that, that rarely impacts my family and it rarely impacts my spiritual life. It increases my prayer, but it doesn't really impact it. But if something, let's say the middle, right? My family, if something impacts my family, then it 100% impacts the clinic. And so just throughout reverse engineering it, what I've realized, if there's something off spiritually, my family feels it. And then if my family feels it, my patients feel it. If there's something off within my family, my patients feel it. And if there's something off with my patients, then of course I can feel it, but it doesn't necessarily impact the other two areas, because I really do. You've taught me this. Leave it at the clinic. When those doors shut, when I cross the 430 bridge, it's over. It's over. So yeah, faith, family, and then chiropractic, or Christ, family, and chiropractic. It has to flow through those different lenses. And I see it as a hierarchy, as a funnel, not necessarily like pillars. I used to talk about that. back in the Beyond Expectations when I that's so tough. So tough. That was cheesy. But I don't look at it as pillars anymore. I see it as kind of like a flow. And it starts with the faith, then into the family, and then into the clinic. And when you're in perfect harmony, more importantly with God, right? When you're in perfect harmony with Christ, you see that impact other areas. When you're in flow and in harmony with your family, and particularly our kids, and our marriage, we see that flow out into other things, and then it keeps us afloat within the clinic as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is Denzel Washington when he says, "I ain't never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse."
Right.
You ain't get to take it with you. And I think that's, back to the original point you were just making is, we put way too much emphasis, and I've been as guilty as anybody, on things, possessions, accolades, pats on the back, accomplishment. And those are all important because I think accomplishment is tied to self-esteem, it's tied to self-worth, no doubt about it. And I think it's one of the things that certain people, it starts with self-awareness of being aware of what it is that is your big personal impact. What is it that impacts you the most? Some people, especially in the business sector, a lot of people look at, I get bonus time off. It's not important to me. I get bonus money. I could care less about the money. I want more time off. I think it's just identifying for people, their big personal impact. Like, what is that for you? And I think it's also, too, what contributes a lot to people that really blow a lot of their wealth on their health and then blow a lot of their health on their wealth. So my whole entire life grinded, put my health to the side to accumulate wealth, only to retire and then blow it up all again back on my health. I see it all the time. I literally had someone in my office today who was a high net worth individual. He spent his whole life, and what he told me today is he was like, I spent my whole life trying to accumulate this wealth, and now I'm spending it all on my health. And that's just what I think, going back to the theme of Mask Off and Happier Health Arkansas, and why I do this podcast and all these things is because we can just sort of help influence a little bit first off on who we are, to help people understand who we are, what we stand for, where we stand from a complete no mask perspective, but then also help people understand that really the reason that we do this is to try to just help impact just a few people who can go out in the community and take Arkansas from 49th out of 50 down to number one. I should say up to number one. And so in closing, here's what I want to know. Why do you think Arkansas is 49th out of 50 in healthcare?
So what's interesting is my perspective being from Michigan.
Right.
What I've realized is when I came here, it's a natural state, absolutely beautiful. We have so much stuff outdoors. Weather, with the exception of the heat, is the exception of the heat. Doesn't snow though, but with the exception of the heat, the weather's beautiful. What's interesting is people here actually look healthier, just from like an objective standpoint. People here look healthier, but our hospitals are filled, and our obviously just within the clinic, we're ranked very high as far as like medications prescribed. People in Michigan look a lot worse. People in Michigan look a lot worse than people here in Arkansas. So it was actually interesting to me when I saw that statistics that we were 49th out of 50.
Thank God for Mississippi.
Yeah, thank God for Mississippi.
Mississippi.
I found that out too. That's actually a saying here in Arkansas.
It is. Absolutely, it is. It's tough.
I think it's because a part of like what we're working through with my own family, and realizing how much there actually is here in Arkansas to be able to do. Like if you live in Arkansas, you have to be some form of outdoorsy, some form of active, because we have so much, and when we don't utilize that, we don't really have other places to go. So all we have to do is just sit in our house, because there's not really a lot of like in Detroit, there's a lot of clubs and there's a lot of different things to be able to do. There's honestly not. We live in the capital, right? There's not much stuff to do. There's some stuff, but not as much as like where I'm from. So you have to be able to be in order for it to get healthier, we have to be more active, and we're just not. I don't think people are genuinely using all the resources that we have here in Arkansas, and that's what's making us so low.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree and just piggyback off that a little bit and say I think that it's because health has been overcomplicated. I think what Arkansas has done over the years, for whatever reason, and I don't think it was a particular movement or one person who did it, but we overcomplicated what being healthy actually means. And for too long, especially in our state, I grew up here, born and raised here, I'm biased. I only left the state for 4 years, and it was to go to chiropractic school in Parker College of Chiropractic Medicine. And I was there for 4 years in the concrete jungle, and I felt like a caged bird. It was just, dude, I felt like a bear that was in the zoo. I don't know. But when I got back, that's when I realized it. I was like, because we have overcomplicated what being healthy actually means. See, in our world, and especially in Arkansas, what we have been taught is that healthy means no symptoms. It means I don't have symptoms. Currently today I woke up, I didn't have a headache, so I must be healthy.
Right.
Or I didn't wake up today and I'm not suffering with, chronic digestive issues every single day, so that means that must mean I'm healthy. And really, if you look at the definition of health, it literally says not merely the presence or absence of symptoms, but how one functions. And so then that's what's paved the way for things like functional medicine, and it's paved the way for functional, and he put functional in front of it and now became cool. It's because health is based off function. How well do I function? Well, functions should, if being trained and properly quantified, be something that improves over time. For example, you may be someone out there who's like, I'm not going to hike to the top of Pinnacle. It's not possible. Okay, then hike around the bottom. And then there'll be a day where now I can go halfway up Pinnacle. I'm going to work myself and my functional fitness up to the point where I can now go halfway up Pinnacle with the aspirations of one day going all the way up Pinnacle. See, what that is an example of functional improvement. It wasn't that you never could, it's that you had to work your way up to it. And in order to become healthy in your eyes, what that meant is your fitness function had to improve, or your overall function had to improve. So I think what tends to happen is we overcomplicate that. Well, I can't go, to the gym and do a CrossFit workout. Right, and you shouldn't. But what you can do is you can walk half a mile at a slow burn cardio pace and start there and work up to 45 minutes and then work up to an hour and improve your fitness over time. I got news for you though. When you do that first 30-minute walk, you're going to get sore because you haven't done it before, which is evidence to your body of a symptom that you are improving functionally in your fitness. But the symptom doesn't mean you're not healthy. In fact, it's the opposite. And I'm going to just give a simple analogy. If we both went to El Portón, one of my favorite Mexican restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out El Portón. And we both had the fajitas. You and I both had the fajitas, same fajitas. And we ate, and I went home, and you went home, and I called you like an hour later, and I was like, Cam, dude, are you on the toilet with like devastating diarrhea and puking everywhere? And you were like, no. And I was like, well, that's weird. We ate the same thing. And society has taught us that I'm the sick one. Right. And that you're the healthy one. Right. And I'm here to argue actually the opposite. I'm here to argue that maybe my body was able to actually recognize the invasion of E. coli that just went into my body from the El Portón fajitas, which El Portón would never do. But if it did, and I ate all that E. coli, your body would recognize it and be getting rid of it. And how would it be getting rid of it? In the form of a symptom through diarrhea and vomiting. So my body actually is the healthy one, while yours is getting eaten alive by E. coli to the point of sepsis. And now you have a parasite growing in your body, which caused weight loss, fatigue, and all kinds of other things. And society has taught us that you're the healthy one. And if your brain is hurting right now, that's okay. This is the problem. This is what we're identifying. It's because society has taught you that I am the healthy, or that he's the healthy one and I'm not. And I'm here to tell you that we preach the opposite. I'm actually here to tell you that that what's going to actually cause the shift in healthcare from 49 to 50 is for people to understand two things in my view. One is that it's been overcomplicated and it's a lot more simpler to be healthy than you actually think. And that two, it is not merely the presence or absence of symptoms. We can get the community to understand that. We can form a movement. We can start walking clubs up Mount Pinnacle, where everyone's invited, no matter your fitness level, to the point of what you can take. And then we can also start to incorporate things of how easy it is to cook at home. Cook easy things at home, not eat out as much. Why do I cannot eat out and be healthy? You can. There's actually a way to do that. The reason it is not as effective is because it's harder to hold accountable. If I meal prep versus if I go to somewhere and I get in a hurry, screw it, I'll just eat the Popeye. Okay, now we're in trouble. Why is Popeye's bad? Well, there's a whole list of things. We'll have lots of podcasts on that. And it's tough, right? Because I get it. I like that stuff too. Do I have cheat meals? Absolutely, which is also what makes it simple to be healthy. Don't always have to be in the state of health conscious living. You can have cheat meals and be okay. You can take days off from working out and be okay. You can do things that are working out and not think they're working out.
I like overly complicated.
It's just overcomplicated. It's not as hard as people think, and we've been sold this idea that you have to pay some guru to figure it out. You don't. But if you want to pay us to help you do it, we will, of course. That's what we do best. But here's the thing. It's been overcomplicated, and I think it can be quickly rectified if we understood actually the definition of health and how simple it actually is to be. I think that's a good place to stop today.
You know what? I think so too. What'd you think?
No, I mean, listen, I think that it was a good kickoff episode here. I think we're going to bring you one more next week that'll be even better, because here's the deal. We're always about, much like with your functional fitness health, we want it to constantly improve. We want to constantly get better, bring you better and better raw data. Happy Healthy Arkansas, masks off. I think that's going to be it for today.
Till next time.
Until next time, see ya.